Hi Pisces Sun and Rising, it's Raina here. This is a video for the transits of Jupiter and Saturn in the sign of Aquarius, and they are going to form a conjunction in December of 2020, actually on the winter solstice. And that's going to be very exciting because that's already a power period in and of itself. And they will both stay in Aquarius in 2021. Jupiter will be briefly going into your sign, Pisces, mid-year, going back into Aquarius until the end of December of 2021, but going into Pisces in that month. Saturn will stay in Aquarius into 2022. So, and by the way, Saturn did go into Aquarius earlier this year in 2020. So Saturn has briefly been in Aquarius. Now, Aquarius is a sign right before you. So this is your 12th house. Now, what makes this particularly significant is that Pisces rules the 12th house in the universal chart, and your ruler is Neptune. So the 12th house is all things Neptunian. So we look at the opposite house of Pisces, and that would be the 6th house that Virgo rules, which is about work, your daily schedule, health, physical health. And we can kind of contrast that to Pisces in the 12th house, which is about mental health or the subconscious mind. It's about, rather than the work that you're doing, ostensibly, we would say receiving compensation, this can be selfless service or volunteer work. Because Pisces is a sign that is connected to sacrifice. And therefore, anything that you do for others where you're not expecting to get something for it is connected to the 12th house. The 12th house is the house that is called the house of self-undoing, because it can be, what trips people up, what makes them not be able to do things that they want to do to progress in life. So addictions are part of the 12th house. And again, if you talk about the 12th house being the subconscious mind, it really can be what is driving the person, but they don't know it on the conscious level. And so the fears, the repressed memories, this can be 12th house. Did I say karma? Definitely past lives and things like that. So this is something, though, because you rule that house, it's going to be less uncomfortable for you because you've been there and done that just by, living as a Pisces person. So somebody else might be a little bit more uncomfortable with transits through this house, but here we have two planets. Jupiter, which is planet of luck, expansion, positivity, a sense of generosity, benevolence, goodwill towards others. And so in Vedic astrology, Jupiter is called a benefic planet, and Saturn is a malefic planet. So we have these two planets that kind of counter each other in terms of their influences. Saturn is the lord of karma. And by the way, the 12th house being the house of karma, you have this double karmic influence. And also the 12th house is the last house. And so then you're going to start a whole new cycle with Saturn and Jupiter when they cross over the threshold into the first house. And this is the part in the reading where I have to say that this is a general reading. So timing-wise, when Jupiter and Saturn go into that 12th house will vary from person to person based on your natal or solar chart, which is based on your degree of rising sign for the natal chart, or your degree of sun sign for the solar chart. So you would have to know what that is to know when it's actually going to affect you. And if you'd like me to look at it, I'd love to look at this for you and some of the other transits you're dealing with, and even your natal placements. So you can click on the link below if you're interested in a natal chart interpretation, transits reading. But just to let you know that this is going to vary from person to person. But, you know, the 12th house is about the end of a cycle. And in this case, we're talking about 2 cycles. Now, Jupiter has been in Capricorn for the past year, and Saturn, as I record this in November, went back into Capricorn in early July and will be in Capricorn through the end of the year. So these 2 planets are already in the same signs, in the same sign. But they haven't been that way all year. They will join forces in December at the same degree, at 0 degrees, like I said, at the time of the winter solstice. And of course, if you live down under, this will be the summer solstice. And that's the time when the sun goes into Capricorn. So, and then we have this Capricorn energy, and that will be your 11th house. But actually, I think this is going to be such a mystical thing for Pisces, because this conjunction is occurring in this 12th house. And so who knows what could happen at that time for you guys. But like I said, some of you are not going to have it. Maybe a lot of you won't have it in this particular house because of whatever that 12th house cusp degree is. But it will get there eventually. So it's not that this information won't matter to you. So let's talk about what Jupiter might bring you in the 12th house. And of course, keep in mind that you also have to, do your part to manifest these things. You can't just sit there and wait for it to happen. It's funny because I say this a lot, but especially for Pisces, because Pisces does tend to be a sign, maybe because you do rule this house, where you believe in, fairies and unicorns, and you think that it's just going to drop in your lap. And I do, maybe sometimes things come very effortlessly and you don't really have to lift a finger, but it's much, if you really want something to happen, it's much better to, pray and get your feet moving, as they say. So, Jupiter. One of the things that could be something that happens is it's like having a fairy godmother. Or is that the right way to, well, maybe that too, like having, making wishes and having them come true, like the house, like a magical place for things to happen, Jupiter being like Santa Claus. But also, protection from negativity, from evil. But there's another way I wanted to put it, because I have talked about this in terms of people when they have Jupiter, just in my monthly readings. And I probably said like this, like a guardian angel type of energy. And the other thing too is getting what you want, like having it manifest, because again, this is the end of a cycle. And so just as I will tell you with Saturn, where it can be more of like, hey, it's karma time. With Jupiter, it can be, it's getting what you want. Now, this is a weird one. For a woman, you could be getting a husband, if you want one or not, right? But supposedly the Jupiter transit can indicate this, and the 12th house can be that culmination of your desires and having it manifest. But this is the house of spirituality as well as solitude. And so this could definitely be a time when being alone is amplified for you, and where it's a good thing, where it's something that's very beneficial, as well as, of course, meditation and other spiritual practices. You might go on retreat. And although I didn't see this in some of the sites that I visited to kind of compile this list, I would think that with Jupiter here, it could even be like long distance traveling for spiritual seekers. And especially if it emphasizes more of like, retreat, solitude in a foreign setting. And your creativity can be enhanced as well as your spirituality. Because these two things, I really think that they are one and the same, but both of these, like your imagination can be the 12th house. It can be very heightened, with Jupiter it can be expanded. So they mentioned more money. I don't know exactly why that is. It might have something to do with, Jupiter can always be about increasing money, maybe it coming from other sources. I remember reading once that you can have good karma from a past life come back in some form, and, can show up, maybe even as a monetary gift, I'm assuming. But I don't know exactly why they said that for the 12th house. So, meeting a spiritual teacher who has a positive impact on your life can definitely be what happens at this time. Now let's talk about Saturn, because it can seem like it's kind of contradicting that. This is about facing your demons. Now, one thing, like I said before, is that I think that Pisces people are very good at kind of like living in a bit of a fantasy land. But at the same time, I think that you are stronger than even you realize, because I do feel that a lot of people who have a prominent Pisces have been through their own stuff and they've come out victorious from that. And, Pisces is the old soul. So whereas other signs might feel threatened by having certain things come up for them, I feel like you are almost like fearless when it comes to your demons, if you will. Although I do think sometimes people who have the sun, or, usually I say the moon versus the rising sign, but certainly I think that could also come into play. I usually think that there's a tendency to be so sensitive about all of the, the harsher realities of life. At the same time, I feel like you're capable of, staring it down if you realize that you have to do so. And Saturn tends to bring a sobering quality into a person's life, where they become more realistic. So in the house of fantasy, this can certainly lend itself to you being much more sober about whatever is going on. If you're lying to yourself, if you have been, living in a fantasy world to some degree, or maybe not paying attention to your subconscious mind, that you will do so. This could be one of the remedies for this could be a psychotherapy, because this is the house of repressed memories. So that might be something that is very therapeutic for you to kind of like try to figure yourself out, like why do you do what you do, the pitfalls that, if there's patterns that you have to break and things like that. Rehab is another thing for people who have addictions. Pisces, Neptune, 12th house can be about addictions. So Saturn wants to get you realistic so that you're not in denial. And if you have a problem, that you see that you have a problem, but also to solve the problem, not just to intellectually realize that you have a problem, but there's that concrete quality of Saturn, and also the desire for organization. When there is addiction, there is chaos in a person's life. And so it's about cleaning up the life so that when you have Saturn transiting that first house, when it goes into Pisces, then it's going to be you kind of like being able to have a clean slate, and then you're going to lay down groundwork for the next 30 years of your life, because the first house, lays out the whole chart. So this is about kind of like stopping or ending all of these things that trip you up in life. And, this can also include any kind of duties, obligations that you have. And, it's like your last chance, and then you can move forward in your life. But sometimes this can be, I didn't see this, but I've seen this in the past, the dark night of the soul. But usually, I read something in one of the sites that I read that was very positive. I'm going to read it directly. This is from a website called Astrology. I don't know how to pronounce it. .blogspot.com. And it says, for those that have handled their lives wisely and have treated others with respect and courtesy, this transit can very much be a dreamlike fairy tale. Circumstances surrounding the individual are strangely comforting in an almost surreal way. Sometimes during Saturn's transit here, find the job of their dreams or an almost saint-like lover, but sometimes find a new path after this transit is over. This time is truly a preparation for a new cycle, so let go of the people, attachments, and things that are making their way out. What must go will, so it is much easier to just allow it and not fear. It's truly for your betterment. But that last part I kind of had already alluded to, but I was just talking about like that positive thing. I don't know quite, why they say that there would be an almost dream-like fairy tale with Saturn here. That seems a little bit strange, but just so to keep it positive. I think one reason is because since this is the house of karma and Saturn is the planet of karma, if somebody has been kind of playing their cards right, and doing things in ethical way, then they don't really have anything to worry about. It's the people who have to kind of like face the music because their karma is catching up to them, that maybe have more to be concerned about. And even those people, karma is the word karma means action. So it's action and reaction. It's not about punishment. And that's why it's all good. It's like literally all good. So even if somebody is facing kind of the blowback from past actions, it's a teacher. Saturn is a teacher. It might be a very strict teacher, but like I said, it's all good. It's all for our expansion, our benefit. So I really do think that Jupiter and Saturn can kind of soften some of the tendencies that they, the excesses that they both bring to particular houses, the influences. Although I would say with Jupiter, it's really not because this is more of an internal thing. It's a water house, so this is more about your emotional life or your intuitive life than it is the physical, worldly emphasis. So, in any case, Pisces, I hope that you are looking forward to this. I think it's going to be rather subtle in a lot of ways, but certainly can be something that is very inspirational. And so thank you for listening and good luck to you. Take care. Bye.